Da 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 da. I don't know how many of you out there have ever had training or a lot of experience operating in an artificial deadlight, cybernetic, cyberspace environment where you will obey. And if you don't, you're going to get hurt. I've given you all a number of examples how it works. That's why that lady, I put that YouTube up. The lady talked about apps. See, and this, I've known this since childhood. Okay, but to uncoil all that information to everybody, it wasn't going to work at that period of time. And so it's just like when I unfold what I just got done doing, I get attacked again. Something else shows up in my visual that's not supposed to be there. That was once in memory, but it knows how to activate it, right? This is the game. If you're not on the internet, okay, and if you're not using your laptops to run their system that they set up with that AI, okay, as long as you're using it, that's cool, because your energy is making it run until it's siphoned off. If you're not obeying all the rule-based functions to obey, you'll get a ticket. It's like a ticket book, and there are other ways they obviously will enforce it on you. Having my leg smashed when I'm 9 years of age, which means things will happen to you and you don't even fucking know why. But I do. That's why we run stealth code, because of that. See, when they brought out all the TV sets and the radio on Marconi, and these guys at Mudflood done a really good job of showing you how they run fake realities with artificial intelligence, so that you don't ever know the difference between what's real and what's not real. And once you've lost track of that, which means your state of awareness isn't higher than what it is to know how to operate and checkmate something that's dead and finite, you lose the game, because that's what it is. It's gaming for your energy. Because without your energy, it can't run. It can't run its systems. Okay? Which is all of its algorithms that it runs. So in other words, if you're refusing to partake, or your energy is used to run all these apps, and you start unfurling information to others, you're going to get a response by this AI, which is known as a counter-space move against you. And that's how it works. That's how it enforces your behavior to stay attached to it. Because the last thing it ever wants to do is to let go of you, which is that spiral. That's why I got a signal. Okay? What others choose to do with the intel that I'm giving you is not up to me. That's up to you. But I'm a team leader and a security team guardian. So I know how this environment works. I teach this stuff. That's why if you go look at energetic synthesis, there were folks that went through special forces teams, training, because of the way that this AI operates, the way they set up the system, the beast technology. So a lot of work has gone into just exactly the way the Voyagers laid it out, how long we've been waiting for this. Just like I've mentioned before, I voted to come in here, believing we could do this, right? So that means you have to have open lines of communication. In order to get a one signal in here, to pull that current in here, then you have to be able to anchor it to Mama's magnetosphere. Okay? Otherwise, you lose your connection to the founder races. You don't want that to happen. So there were very critical jobs that had to be completed at very critical, precise moments of now time, which is the speed at which your circuits are opening and closing. Otherwise, it's just going to stay on you. So you've got to be able to have a powerful shield up, which is your firewall, that it can't get through. It can't get through that firewall. It cannot get through the one's firewall. In other words, if it could consume all of the light, it would. But it can't. So sometime it's going to get tired of beating its own self up and peter out, because it can't handle that much fucking light. which is that much love that's pouring in. So you know one is on the ground, and I know that because I've been with the one ever since I came in here. That's where we come from, pure light. The purest there is. And so the purest of light naturally knows what isn't. Right? So it's a matter of clearing distortions, clearing the signals, right? And it's just, I've mentioned this on other videos. I had to be willing to be exposed to everything that you've been exposed to. All of it. So all you have to do is ask the question, can one handle it? You think eternal fire can't handle everything that the dark throws at the source from which it all began? Of course. That, as a matter of fact, that's a given. That's an oxymoron. That's what you can't ever lose, is knowing that. Because as soon as you believe that the dark is more powerful than the light, you lost the game. Unless you have recovered yourself to know that. To know what the truth is and know what love is, because that's what you are as a beloved. So that's why this was a massive healing job. Otherwise, you lose. So I know that decisions were being made, if you will, on our behalf, because I'm part of that decision-making process. That's why I voted. But there were folks that did not want to. So I know the difference between what is and what isn't love, automatically. And so anything that is trying to control your energy and forcing you out of trauma-based mind control, held in memory, okay, will hit the obedience button. Because that's what it wants. Strict obedience to the rules. You don't follow all the rules, you get an idiot light. Well, what happened there? Hurt you. It'll hurt you. Make a counter space move. Hurt you. In a gazillion different ways that it can. Because everything that was set up is running through it. So it's like something went rogue. Really bad. So I know it through coursework and simply by saying that the one, which is what I am, which is what love is, would not subject my children to that much abuse. So now we're getting into all the abuse stuff. So there are many forms of abuse. But the biggest one is holding energy captive. Because energy that is self-aware of itself is intelligent enough to know whether it's being controlled or fed on by something else. Another unit of consciousness, which is really a vampire, which is a cage, a ball and chain. Something that is attached to you and doesn't want to let you go. And if you try to let it go, it's going to hurt you. And you can see that through all their movies, and you can see it throughout the entire grid. How it works. That's brilliantly illustrated in Avatar. All the ones. So then when Kim Go-gun mentioned this became a one solution. Remember when she said only one can do this? That is exactly right. That's how I knew what I knew when I was a little kid. It's like the one let me know. Because of the company that we keep. That lets us know when I'm supposed to know it. Because of how tight the security actually is. And so here's an example of abuse that I'm sure most of us are familiar with, right? With this AI. Oh, you decided to do something different than the rest of us. Because remember I told the story when I was a child? Well, listen. Since you want to control my journey and you want to insert your holographic stuff into my story, then hell, I might as well just put my head on yours because I'm no different than what you are, because you're telling me that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And if I'm not doing it the way I'm supposed to be doing it according to you, then I might as well just take my head, cut it off, and put it on yours, and then you can let me know how I'm doing. That's how the AI operates. Through all of its units that are fully programmed. And you can tell somebody that's fully programmed, which would be your Mr. Smith. I call them enforcers or the gatekeepers. Right? The gatekeepers of Dungeons and Dragons. See, it's like they want to shut the gates off so that you can't communicate out, get any help. Right? So those are the frequency fences, which are the nets. So I call it burning through nets. Right? Just burning those frequencies up because you're grounded. So not just mama, but ground zero. Which means that's a rod. That's a single rod is now here anchored. Now that energy comes pouring in. So they can't stop. Okay, it's over. And so this is how you know, because you're experiencing it through your own heart and your soul. And so trusting this process is what's difficult for them. Because I know this from childhood. Most of the folks on this planet have never experienced like that pure. I have. That's where I come from. So I know exactly what it feels like. That's why when I was running through this grid, and particularly with girls that I had relationships with, it's always a matter of reading how much density of their own mind's energy is being held captive to, and how long it would take for them to be able to recover the light that's been lost, that's represented by the density that you can read in that operator. I've done that with my own clan mother. Okay? So I know how sensitive she is. Okay? Because I'm hypersensitive. So I already know how you're going to react. So we understand the reaction states here is not on a personal level, so I don't mean anything personal. It's on a magnetic level. In the speed of the circuits, based on the differential between how many electrons she's holding captive in her memory that it's running versus mine. So now you get into the library building and getting rid of libraries at very high rates of speed of everything that is a fake timeline that doesn't represent what love is. And then you have all the artificial ones that are being run through, if you will, artificial persons. And those that have lost an enormous amount of light that you want to recover, and that's what polarity integration is to bring the soul fragments back in to experience one, which is what love is, which is what the light is, which is what the law is, which is law of spheres, law of balance. So what I show and I try to do to my best of my ability is share my journey by virtue of what I was experiencing when I was in my childhood that really is not different. It's like you already know how this stuff works. So I give examples so that if others see this, as this information is rolling through the server, right, you can see and actually time how long it's taking for the information, which is the torque speed differential and what they become aware of, and they realize that that information is coming through the light, which is real light, and not false dead magnet light. So, and the easiest way to know that is through your heart and soul. So again, we're back to resistance. The resistance to let go. Because the more units of consciousness or souls that are letting go of their electrons as they heal, it's actually a measurement of how fast they're healing. That's what the Bartle point is. And that can become a known. Believe it or not, as to whether there is enough time and density in the way that atoms cycle through the cosmos, whether that can be done or not. Right? So this is a cosmic level cycle, which is cosmic reset. So that's why it's a done deal. So that's why it's beautiful to see in other places that I visit. Like, I already know what I'm going to find when I get there. Sure enough, I do. You think? You know, like going to the portal and somebody put that up. And then you can tie that directly to what Kim Gogoon said. And you don't know who these people are that put that stuff up there. But what it tells me is that the information is coming through the server. They become aware of it by whatever the source is that's letting them know. Right? Which can be, I've always used my heart and my soul. That's how I know what's going on. I don't need a cell phone, a newspaper, somebody calling me up on the phone, somebody on the internet to let me know what's going on. I'm supposed to be knowing what's going on, just in my own heart and soul. You got a one connection, you know exactly what's going on all the time. So naturally, it's through mama, right? But we're all connected to the one because we experience what love is that goes on forever. So that is natural healing energy. So that's what we are. So you have different level healers, right? How much energy you can bring in here, but there's only so much you can bring in and experience implementing over time without burning folks up, right? Living stars, being a living star, experiencing being a living star, a real one, right? You're plugged into one. Transformers, isn't that what's his name? I loved this guy. He was great. He went to work for RCA when he was a little kid. No, young teenager. Went right into radios and antennas, and was putting classes on back in the what was that, Mama, 1990s? I wish I could remember his name. He was on Fireside Chats for a while, and he, you find him where you might think somebody like that would be found, out in the up in the Death Valley area. He would tell everybody, man, these folks are insane. You want to get the fuck out of these places. You need to be out there with Mother Nature, right? Pulling better frequencies and energy and being with something that's sane, something that has love in their heart, right? And so this becomes the battlefield, right? So you want to be removed from that because you don't want to experience that. That's what he was saying. And he was brilliant at unpacking, galaxies and antennas. He worked for RCA, which was with the U.S. Navy, was given his own lab, right? And what was his name? Eric Dollard. Yeah. Eric Dollard. He's a genius, absolutely. He was the one time when he was sitting up in his truck and he said, he was talking about counter space, right? You don't know whether that light is 3 seconds away or 3 minutes away, right? He said the sun was a transformer, a power station. Plug into that sun, right? You need a socket and you need a plug. So the boy needs the girl in order to make something happen, right? Make something happen, create something, right? So that's what we do. That's the energy that we use to create things with, is what love is. And that's energy. That's consciousness, right? So this is, obviously, I'm powered up and very happy. And so I realize when I communicate this stuff, counterattacks, right? And so when you're actually minding your own business, not really paying attention a whole lot, but you're not doing anything really proactive, grounding your feet with Mother Earth and working with the sun to power out some stuff, and you're just riding along with the rest of the show, riding the train. It's called following the Roman arena. When the circus comes to town, everybody wants to follow the circus. I did a couple of videos on how the barkers work, the snake oil salesmen work, how you know one from the other. Right? Because they're always selling you something. Okay, so now do you know how to trust them or not? How do you know if you go into a supermarket and there's a box on there and it says, this is what's in it? Are you a chemist? Are you going to take it down to your lab and you're going to run it? No, I trust them. You do? Now you're back to knowing one from the other. So I know Mama. That's where I want to be. Okay, so you realize everything else that was set up here was meant to kill everything off. And that's why all their communications that were rolling out was to do that. So that most of your mind's energy is running all these apps instead of being with Mother Earth. Remember what Patty said? Yeah, they want to drown out Mama's signal. Well, who do you think is doing it? Everybody that's on the internet. Because they would have never put it up and put the antennas up that are drowning out her signal if people weren't obeying in which to build it. So they're following the orders. So they're following the obedience. It's as if they don't have any choice. I mean, I sort of looked at this from a radio antenna point of view, or building a motherboard or radio. Would you build a communication system the way that they set this up that everybody's using? Ask Aaron. Aaron will tell you it's all fucked up. And Aaron knows a lot about computers and information systems. He said, stupid. It's not a smart system. There's bugs in it everywhere. Everybody knows that. I remember a girl said one time, chiggers. If they can get rid of the chiggers, how about the flies? Right? So this is your counter space stuff. 72s and 144s, eh? Right? Hybrid wars, cyber wars, the immortals, which is immortal. So you know what they did to the language? It's all convoluted. And that's the whole idea. That's how they trap you. It's through their language of DNA. That's completely corrupted. Because the consciousness is completely corrupted. Which means the radio sets are all distorted. So they don't know how to build a radio set. Which means they don't know how to build a planetary motherboard. That's the truth of it. They do not know what they're doing. They're destructive by the very means by which they do things with the use of their energy. So nothing that they build is ever going to last. And even if they were not trying to do that, when you think of, well, we're supposed to evolve things and go from one tech to another tech to another tech, right? They can't see the result of what they're doing now as a result of that because they run that slow. So they're simply not aware of it. They can't see the ultimate result of where that technology is going to lead them off a fucking cliff. Okay? I mean, it's actually, this is why when I was a kid growing up, I called it sadomasochistic programming, because that's exactly what it is. You want to kill off a species or a universe? Leave it to them. That's exactly what they do. Those are all your corporations. Okay? All you have to do is ask you one simple question. Would the one do this? If you're with the one and you're experiencing absolute love in your own heart and soul, and you're with the one, then you already know what's going to happen, what the future is in that endeavor. By those units of consciousness that have formed a formation, which is a network, which is a neural network. And with the result of that neural network that is building a large formation of consciousness, like a hive, a greater hive, which is groupthink. This group thinks this way, right? And so that's electronic. And then you have the magnetic side of what we feel through our heart and our soul, which is not compatible with